Hey guys, so I'm over here in Grand Rapids, South Dakota. I just woke up. It's about 7:30 in the morning. I'm about 30 minutes away from Crystal Caverns. I'm gonna go get something to eat this morning, and then I'm gonna upload a video to YouTube and hit the road, because I'm trying to do a video upload every day of what I'm up to out here, and I probably won't have internet service or be anywhere I can have it until probably at least late tomorrow. So I'm gonna go and put it up early today and get out of here and go and see some neat sights, and I plan on taking you guys along with me, making sure you get to see some of the stuff I'm seeing out here on the road. And I'll talk to you when I get down to Crystal Caverns again today, and I hope you're out there enjoying your lives. Hey guys, so I'm over here at the Crystal Caverns, and I'm about ready to head on in. It's should be pretty good. It says it's a little chilly down there, so I'll probably freeze a bit. I didn't bring a jacket. Bye.
All right, so you guys follow me into the big doors here. We'll hold it up top for a few minutes, and then we'll head on down. We'll hold up in this top room. You guys look to your right side on that big middle grate. That's about a third of the way to the bottom of the cave. Just kind of shows that we're going to hike down. All right. So what to point out first? Well, I guess out in front of the cave, I talked about not touching the crystals in the cave. You know, over here we call this the get it out of your system station. So you can come over here and get all the touching out of your system. So large chunks of crystal are the dogtooth spar, and that's what we'll see a lot of down at the bottom of the cave. And on this one on the right, you can see how it kind of looks like it's covered in dirt. That is actually what a dead crystal looks like. Oil will turn into that dirty color.
What's that, the green?
The green, that is algae. So as we go through the cave tour, anywhere where the light is shining, you'll see some of that green growing. Up here, it's more of kind of a slime. Once we get in the bottom of the cave, it'll be more plant-like. So with the moisture in the cave, it is moist enough for a squiggly line that runs through the roots of a lot of these crystals. You'll see it here on your left, and all these small dots ahead of you. And once you get to the cave tour, you'll notice it's pretty much everywhere. And that's manganese. It's used to make different kinds of steel. It does have some value to it, but there's just not enough of it here in the cave to really get much money out of it. You probably spend more money trying to extract it than you would after you sold it. So strictly for show purposes in here, but there are a few spots that I'll point it out where it makes some kind of cool cave pictures. So that's some stuff to look forward to as well. And then again, this is the dogtooth spar crystal. So each one of these spikes is a different crystal. It's kind of hard to see up here. This is a pretty small example of it. Once we get in the bottom of the cave, you'll see some that are about 14 inches long. So that does get a lot better as well. Do you guys have any questions on anything I pointed out before we kind of get into the story and stuff? They were down at the bottom of the canyon one summer day, found a small hole, and decided to crawl into it like a lot of boys would. The hole they found was about as big as the gap you see here between the ceiling and this part of the, I guess, little cliff. So they had to crawl in head first, do a bit of a belly crawl. The original entrance was back about where our door is, so they would have belly crawled from there, down to about the end of this first set of stairs, and then around the corners where it opened up. So this whole spot here has been blasted out just for a larger gathering room. Then after that, it should be all natural. There's one wall that was blasted out, though, that I'll point out as well. So that's a little bit on the history. The boy's last name is Duhamel. We'll talk about the Duhamels quite a bit throughout the cave tour. You guys have any questions on that? And from the manganese, so you get the point of Florida here, tip of Texas. Some people get really bizarre with it and say these small dots down here are Hawaii and Alaska in the upper left-hand corner. And some people take it to a whole nother level and say that the limestone in the middle makes different mountain ranges. So you'd have the Rockies on the left, the Appalachians on the right, and maybe a small bump in the middle there could be the Black Hills.
And all the white stuff on top is the snow in Canada.
Yeah, there you go. So take that however you will. People, I mean, some people could tell you that's not even the United States and that's China. Who knows? So use your imagination in the cave and you can probably see a lot more than I can show you. Get a good look at that and you'll hear from me down at the bottom. Yep, the U.S. map right around the corner there, that's what we came naturally. Yep, so they blasted out to left the U.S.
You gotta turn right, sir. Look, even got indoor water, running water in here.
I don't like the pressure though. It's not enough pressure for a good shower.
Yeah, that's true. You'd be saying
Motel
that for
6.
a while. They saw the crystal here, thought they'd found a cave that was full of some sort of precious gems. Thought they'd hit it rich, but I guess most 10 and 12-year-olds would have thought the same thing. They went home and told their dad about the cave they found, and he was a pretty wealthy businessman at the time, so buying something like this wasn't too hard for him. And to make the price a little bit easier, the land was originally owned by a logging company. It got all the timber off here that they needed, and they were looking to sell the place so they can move on to their next spot. So we got it at a pretty fair price. The company that owned it before actually didn't know about the cave on the property here. And he sent some people in here to check it out, thinking he may have hit it rich, and they told him that it was the dogtooth spar crystal. And that's what all these little spikes are that you see here. Unfortunately, the dogtooth spar crystal does not have much value. It's relatively worthless. It's very similar to quartz. If you guys were to take a hike here in the Black Hills, you would find quartz with about every step you took. And quartz doesn't have much value either. So if there was a need for quartz, it'd be easier to go out in the woods and find some of that than it would be to pull it out of here. So after they realized that they didn't hit it rich with the gems, they decided to open it up for tourism, as they'd owned the land and done a little bit of excavating already. So they completed the excavation up top to make that meeting room a little bit bigger. And then they put the stairs in here. The first set of stairs were wood and there were no handrails, and there was not a light system for the first set of tours. It was all done with a candlelit lantern. So you would have came in here. A few of you may have been able to carry your own lantern. You would have come down all those woody, creaky, moldy stairs into this room here, and then you would have hung out in just this room for a few minutes, turned around and headed back out. So it definitely wasn't the most exciting cave tour. As for the name, the chandelier room, though, it gets its name from Mamie Duhamel, who was the mother of the boys that found the cave, and she noticed that the dogtooth spar grew in these big spherical clusters. She thought that it resembled a French chandelier, so she simply named it the chandelier room. Kind of a girly name, no offense to the two ladies on this tour, but she was tougher than most guys I know. She actually worked here giving tours until she was 92 years old. The whole time she did it, it was on those wooden steps. She was carrying a lantern, and she was dealing with groups that were far larger and far more rowdy than you guys are. So she had a harder job than I did. When she hit 92, she decided it was too much work for her and just worked up in the gift shop until she was 97, working here until she passed away. So I think those stairs every day, about 5 or 6 times a day, helped her make it to 97 years old. So Mamie Duhamel did go on to run the cave by herself until 1971, and then she passed away, and her son, then Bud, the youngest boy that found the cave, took over. So it's just been handed down generation to generation, and we are now in our 80th year of cave tours, as the first tour was in '34, which was 7 years before Mount Rushmore was open. So kind of gives you a perspective of what it was like when the first cave tours were here.
Who's gonna hit their head? Probably Nathan. And all this part of the cave is supposed to be natural here?
Yeah, this is natural as well. All right, guys, so quick stop here. On your right side of the pathway, you'll see what kind of looks like mud running down the walls, or maybe melted peanut butter. It looks really soft and runny, but it's actually the hardest thing you'll find in our cave. It is a crystal. It's called flowstone, and it gets its name as it looks like it's just flowing down the walls. And again, kind of funny how it looks like melted peanut butter, but if you take a bite out of that, you'd have a mouthful of broken teeth. So get a good look at that. And then across the pathway are some red letters that vaguely spell out seashell. Second half of the word's pretty easy to see. Just below the first L looks like a thumbprint in the limestone, and that's a fossil of a seashell, just from prehistoric times. And then to snap your heads back to the other side, just by the light bulb, you'll see some more of that algae growing. Again, you'll see the fibers, but up towards the top, you'll see a few little leaves. And at this point, we're about 150 feet underground, so it's kind of cool to see something growing like that far under the Earth's surface. All right, so this part of the cave does have a pretty fun story to it. Back in the chandelier room, I mentioned that would have been where the cave tour ended back, I guess in the early parts of the cave tours up until the mid to late 1940s. And the reason for that is this rainbow arch that you're standing under was at one time a solid rock wall. So you would have had to walk all the way through the crevice. Again, that was with one candle at lantern. The front of the group would hit a rock wall and then try and turn around. You'd have quite the train wreck back there in the crevice. So for the most part, they just held you up in the chandelier room. But in the 40s, we had a guide by the name of Eddie Planch who did a lot of exploring in here, and he made his way through the crevice. And then back here behind you guys, you can see how there's kind of a hole that goes underneath this part of the rainbow arch. He crawled under that as far as he could, and back in this room here, he popped up through a little hole, which he saw this whole next part of the cave, and he said that this had the largest crystal he'd ever seen. Really wanted to open it up to the public. So he talked to Mamie Duhamel about it, who was running the cave on her own at the time, and she asked if Eddie could do the blast. And he said he was more than capable of it, but Eddie had never messed around with dynamite before, but she trusted him anyways. So he came down here, placed his dynamite at the big hole we're standing under, and then back in this tunnel, I don't know if you guys will all be able to see it, but just beyond the first aid kit is a big metal plate, and that was actually the blast shield. So that's about all the farther back he got from the blast. Definitely rung his bell a little bit. He wasn't the smartest kid, but he survived.
Watch this.
He survived it. He actually went on to get a PhD in geology, so maybe it smartened him up a little bit. I don't know. But thanks to Eddie, it did bring us the whole next part of our cave. This room here is called the Crystal Palace, and it has the largest crystal you'll find in our cave. And then as for Rainbow Arch, just the name, you can see that there's different colors and different layers of minerals, which give it that rainbow look. So that. There's a salamander too that we saw in the tour this morning.
Have a roof?
No, he hasn't.
I hope he's alive still.
Yeah, he just moved when
Oh, he did?
right before you, yeah.
Palace, and it holds some of the larger dogtooth spar you'll see in our cave. Here in front of you, they range from anywhere from about 4 to 8 inches, which is really large for the dogtooth spar. It kind of sounds small with it being 4 to 8 inches. But the name dog's tooth not only resembles the shape of it, you can see how it's spiky and sharp like a dog's tooth, but the size as well. Most dogs' teeth are a few centimeters to an inch at most. I don't know too many dogs that have got teeth this big, but it would scare the crap out of me if I saw one that did. Yeah, he'd probably be able to outrun me with how big these teeth are. Be a pretty big dog. So I guess to kind of put it in perspective, if you take a look on the ground here, you'll see these small spikes. And these here are actually still larger than the world average size for the dogtooth spar. Yeah, there's an example up in the gift shop that we have that resembles a little bit closer. They're just really small, sharp spikes and look like, I guess, a little dog's teeth. So for this being still larger than average, you can imagine how much larger these are than average. So some pretty fascinating dogtooth spar crystal here. Guys, so over here to your left, you'll see some of those I was talking about 12 to 18 inches. And these are some of the world's largest dogtooth spar crystal. So down here in some of these clusters, especially this guy here, or even these ones up here, you can see that they're even much bigger than what they were in the big part of the Crystal Palace. So that is a good example to take a look at for some large dogtooth spar. We've got some tunnels in the cave that Do have them a little bit larger than this, but those are all head first tummy crawls to get through and a little bit dangerous to take people through.
How do those form?
It's kind of a complicated process compared to other crystals. So at one time the cave was filled with hot water and it was saturated with the calcite mineral. These are calcite crystals.
Okay.
And as the water would drain, the calcite would start to bond together and it would bond to the ceiling and then form these six-membered crystals or six-sided prisms, which is one thing that's always been kind of interesting. When you see the ones that aren't broken and you look up on the ceiling, you notice stuff's missing everywhere. But the ones that are complete, it always forms a perfect six-sided prism. So as the water drained off, the calcite mineral just bonded together and formed the crystal. But as for this room here, this is the ghost chamber, and it's got a pretty fun story with it, along with one of our more famous formations in the cave. The Indian headdress, that is totally natural. We didn't set the crystal up like that in any way. Kind of ironic to have a formation that resembles a headdress in a cave named after Sitting Bull, but I'm sure after we named the cave and saw this, it was only right to call it that. A lot of younger kids will see it though, and they say it looks a lot like a turkey's butt. I can see that just as well. Yeah, your
Almost
imagination
better.
will really play out what you're
Named
seeing
after
there.
me.
So there's your Indian headdress or your turkey's butt.
No.
And then back here in this small tunnel where I'm shedding my light, was at one time, I guess, known as what's called a chimney. And chimneys in caves are totally natural holes or cracks that go from the surface of the earth into our cave. It's how we get the constant airflow in here so we can be in here for extended amounts of time. And most chimneys are not large enough to feel a breeze come through, but it was said that this one was. And Eddie Planch was crawling around back in there. This is the same kid that blew himself up. And he felt that wind breeze. His mind got to spinning, which definitely wasn't a good thing. And he decided to place a ceramic jug back there. So when the wind would blow by the mouth of it, it made a howling noise that resembled a ghost. It wasn't constant all day, but every once in a while you'd hear the howling here. I talked about how tough Mamie Duhamel was, and that actually scared her. It was said there were times that she wouldn't even come in this room on her tours. So it was all fun and games. He eventually told her that it was him. And then in 1972, a big flood came through and packed our cave full of mud, including this chimney. So we no longer get the howling effect. But another fun story we can tell about Eddie and his, I guess, his stupid findings of the cave. Come on, we got a little bit. You can see also, sometimes black is just going to want to also. Yeah, definitely will.
Yeah, that's fun. That's fun.
Hey guys, I just got done at the Crystal Caverns and it was pretty cool. They have some crystals that are like 8 to 12 inch. I think they called them dog tooth crystals that are 8 to 12 inches long. And I guess that's like insanely large compared to what you find anywhere else in the world. And they don't really know why they formed so large in this specific cave. But they, you know, I mean, 8 to 12 inches, they were pretty big. They formed like pyramids, 6-sided pyramids, so that was kind of cool. And it was a good workout too, going about 186 feet down into the cave, and then the walk back out is quite heavy. So anyways, I'm gonna create a video that shows the majority of the tour. I'll cut out like real fluffy parts, and I'll put that up online on YouTube, along with just on what I did today. I'll show 2 or 3 clips of each thing I did when I'm making my daily video. So I'll talk to you later, guys. My next stop is over at Mount Rushmore. Bye bye.